What would you say then is the biggest barrier that stood between you and actually writing this fantasy series and publishing the fantasy series?
I think for me, the biggest barrier was not knowing what the fuck I was doing, but also not wanting to tell the story badly enough. The series that I originally worked on, that was fantasy romance slash crime, fantasy crime with an element of romance, we'll say. Um, I liked it. I was attached to the characters. I wasn't attached to the premise or the idea. And I didn't really have anyone who could beta read for me and offer really good feedback. I did have some people read the idea. They did really love the characters. But the trouble is, they were kind of not critical enough to push the book to be as good as it could be. And I think that did hold it back to a degree. But also, the concept was too high for me at the stage of my writing career that I was at. It was just too complicated. And I think that's probably what's held Empath back as well. There is so much going on in that book because it's every character has different powers and therefore different consequences to their powers. And there is the main character and her chronic health issues. There is the fact that the love interest is a police officer, that another character is a nurse, that it talks about sexism and racism and homophobia. And it's quite political and it's also magical. And it's a mindfuck, right? That's a lot to juggle in a book, even after as long as I've been doing this, which isn't actually that long in the grand scheme of things. And so when I came up with the idea for Afterlife Calls, it's really cliche, but it was in a dream. And I didn't want to wake up from this dream because I love the characters so much. But I just woke up and thought, I have to tell this story. How did the characters get to this point? Because I dreamt the climax of the book. I didn't dream the beginning or anything. I dreamt the climax. And I think knowing that climax and the journey the characters would need to go on to get there was really powerful and really motivating for me because I dreamt the end of book one and the start of book two, which is kind of a weird thing to cook up at the very beginning. But it motivated me and already allows me to see it as a series. So in my head, I've been thinking about these four books as one book for a long time. And I forget sometimes that people have only read one or two books and that book three isn't out yet because I'm like already on book seven mentally trying to work out what can happen. I started drafting book five a couple of days ago, you know? Actually, no, I drafted the first two scenes from book five like 6 months ago. And I did chapter three this morning. So, yeah, I've been thinking quite far ahead on these books, which is very unusual for me.